Hey everybody, in this video I'll be playing Frostgrave's The Steam Vents scenario, which will be the 8th battle for my Frostgrave 2nd edition campaign. Hey everybody, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, the channel that plays tabletop games using toy bricks and blocks and discusses the rules and strategies that build the foundation for those games. The Steam Vents is the 8th new scenario from the Frostgrave 2nd edition book, and this battle features hot vents that radiate burning steam and an island that's surrounded by deep water that my soldiers will have to swim through to get to a centralized treasure token. This battle will feature Frappuccino the Sigilist against Zygomor the Necromancer. The last time these two wizards met up was in the right hand and the left hand scenario, and in that battle, Frappuccino's team dominated in combat with 3 critical hits. However, they ended up rolling poorly on their healing spells, their chance to claim an unsecured central treasure token at the end of the game, and with their treasure rolls. And as a result, Zygomor came out ahead with experience points and loot. So now, let's get to Frostgrave 2nd Edition's The Steam Vents scenario. Frappuccino de la Mocha and Rider start the battle joined by a Barbarian, a Demon Hunter, a Crowmaster, 2 men-at-arms, an Infantryman, a Thief, and their Treasure Hunter with her dagger of +1 fight. The Sigilist is level 6 with 5 experience points saved and 58 gold crowns in his vault. Zygomor is wearing a robe of arrow turning, and he and Ethmod are joined by their Ranger, an Infantryman, a Barbarian, a Thug, 2 Thieves, one of which has the Horn of Destruction, a man-at-arms with a magical shield, and a Templar with a 2-handed weapon of fight +1. The Necromancer is level 7 with 80 experience points saved and 30 gold crowns in his vault. Frappuccino will be using his usual blue and gold die, while Zygomor will be using the orange die. My battlefield is set up and the treasures are placed, so we'll roll to see who chooses their side. And it goes to Frappuccino with a 20/11. The setting for this scenario is the Warbands have been traveling through a tunnel system that has now opened up into a large chamber. The scenario calls for a 12-inch diameter pool to be right in the middle of the board with a 3-inch diameter island in the middle. My pool is basically that size and my island's a little larger. And then the central treasure token is placed right in the middle of the board as usual. And then the other setup is that it calls for 4 steam vents to be placed. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those are supposed to be placed in kind of a square outside of the pool. The vents are releasing hot steam, and any figure that ends up touching one of them is going to suffer 2 points of damage. Then also, since the vents are releasing so much steam, this whole chamber is very hot. And so the ice here is melted, and this actually counts as deep water that characters will have to swim through. And the heat is very fatiguing to all of the figures. Anyone wearing light armor starts the battle with -2 health, and anyone in heavy armor starts with -4 health. And when any figure activates when they have less than 6 health, they have to make a will roll against a target number of 8, and if they fail, they are reduced to 0 health and removed from the battle. If they're removed for that reason, however, they will not have to make a survival roll at the end of the game. Since the setting of this scenario is that the Warbands have come here through a tunnel, they can only leave the board through the player edges, so the neutral edges are essentially giant walls that are impassable. The last rule for this scenario is that, as if it wasn't hard enough to get to the centralized treasure token, the first figure to touch that will face a +3 elemental magic attack. Although the middle of the board has this vent-like structure, it does not count as one of the 4 vents that can cause damage to a figure that comes into contact with it. My own personal take on this scenario is that long ago, before the freezing of Frostgrave, there was a foul beast that was kept under here, imprisoned. That's why we have all these towers scattered about, as there was guards watching this area constantly to make sure that the creature stayed locked away. and that is why the magical attack happens when a figure comes into contact with that, is because whatever that beast is has awakened. And then just to mix things up, since the battle calls for walls essentially on the neutral edges, instead of having any random monsters pop up on the sides, I'll actually have them crawl out through these steam vents. So we'll be rolling to see which one of those any monsters end up coming out of. For out-of-game spells, Frappuccino and Rider have no before-game spells they can cast. For the Necromancers, they'll start with Raise Zombie, Zygomor on a 10 with a +2. He got that, so they will get a zombie, and one thing to note is that the damage caused by the steam vents does not affect undead or constructs, so they won't take damage from touching those, and also if their health is reduced to less than 6, they will not have to make that will roll to see if they stick around. Next, they'll attempt Brew Potion, Zygomor on a 13. He got that. He will brew a Potion of Preservation, and Ethmod will attempt it on a 13 with a -2, and he got that also, so he'll brew one as well. So those will each net them 200 gold crowns after the battle. And then they're going to attempt to get Reveal Secret. I haven't been too lucky on these rolls in this battle. Zygomor on a 16 got it, and Ethmod on a 16 -2 failure. Frappuccino has decided to set up over here on this side of the table, and he's right here next to one of his men-at-arms. Then over here we have Rider with the Crowmaster and the Barbarian, their Treasure Hunter, their Infantryman, their other men-at-arms, and their Blood Crow. Now the interesting thing about the Blood Crow is that they only have 1 health, so in this scenario, every single round it's going to have to roll to see against that target number 8 to see if it's going to leave the battlefield. And then they've got their Demon Hunter and their Thief over there. For Zygomor's Warband, over here he's got his new 2-headed Templar that is reduced to 8 health due to the fatigue from this scenario, next to a Ranger and an Infantryman. Then over here we've got Zygomor and his brother Ethmod with their Thief, a Thug, and this Orc here is their new Barbarian after having a great battle last time. They've got their summoned Zombie Skeleton, their Men-at-Arms, and their other Thief down there. The treasure tokens, which I forgot to point out, are right here, up in that tower, down there in this ruined building, and one is over here on this catwalk there. Neither of these two warbands are necessarily committed to getting the central treasure token, though that's always nice. Frappuccino always just wants to try to get 3 treasure tokens, and Ethmod and Zygomor, since they cast 1 Reveal Secret spell, they want to make sure they get one of the regular treasure tokens so they can take advantage of that Reveal Secret. They're going to see if they can get a few of these treasure tokens off the board before Frappuccino and Rider just telekinesis every treasure over to their side, but we'll see what happens. Initiative for the first round goes to Frappuccino. Frappuccino will activate with this Man-at-Arms. The Man-at-Arms will do a double move up here by this ladder, 9 inches, and then Frappuccino will do a 6-inch move to here. And although from there he can see this treasure token up in that tower, it's beyond the 16-inch limit for telekinesis, so he cannot cast that. So instead he's going to attempt to cast Time Walk. He needs a whopping 18 to cast this, and he got a 14. He'll go ahead and empower that for 4. That's the first time I've cast this spell. In the first edition it caused 2 damage after casting it, but not in the second edition. And that is going to give Frappuccino an extra action during the Apprentice phase, and then again during the Soldier phase. For Zygomor over here, he will activate with his Skeleton Zombie, and having an idea of what Frappuccino is going to do, he is going to attempt to cast Telekinesis on this treasure token on a 14. He failed that by 5. He will go ahead and empower that to keep that away from Frappuccino. Moving that 6 inches this way, we'll get it right over here and then drop it right down here. Then he will move 6 inches up to here and then send the zombie over On a double move, it will get into contact with that. To the apprentice phase, Ryder will start out by casting Telekinesis on this treasure token. Casting on an 11. He got that. 11 minus 2. And he can move that token right up here by this corner. Then he will do a single move right up here. Frappuccino gets to activate in this turn, and his plans were kind of foiled by Zygomor moving that treasure token, so he will just move there. He can only move 3 inches because he already moved once. So that's his action for this phase. Ethmod over here will make a single move right kind of behind Zygomor, and he is going to cast Imp down over here on an 11 with a minus 2. That's a 3. He'll fail that by 8 and take 1 point of damage. For Frappuccino's soldier phase, the first thing he's going to do is have this Blood Crow activate and see if it ends up fatigued. It's got a +3 will and it needs a 8 or better to stay in the battle. That's a 20, so it sticks around. And since Blood Crows have a move of 9, it can move 13.5 on a double move all the way up to here. So not quite into contact with the treasure token. Next, we'll go over here to this Crowmaster, and it will come up here and pick up this treasure token. We'll see if a monster pops out of one of these vents. On a 10 plus it does, and it does. As far as which vent the monster will come out of, the one back behind there will be 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 to 15, and then 6 to 20. And that will be the one right in Frappuccino's neck of the woods. To see what it is, this will be across and this will be down. We've got level 8 and 15. So that is 2 wild dogs. Well, maybe that's kind of silly thematically that these dogs would just pop out of these steam vents, but that's what they're doing. So next we'll have this Man-at-Arms activate. He will come over. Wherever he goes, the other one will be able to snap into combat. He'll just come over here, and he'll attack one of the hounds. They're normally +0, so with support it's +2 against +3 for the Man-at-Arms. The Man-at-Arms gets a 21. 4 health and 8 damage. That takes one of these guys out. We'll just drop that one. Next, we will have the Infantryman run up and attack, and these 2 soldiers are making sure not to touch these vents when they come up here. He'll attack with support. He's a +5 against +0. It's a 14 against 12, so that is +2 damage, 8 armor, 4 health. That one goes down as well. They get themselves 10 experience points. Then the Barbarian will double move over here behind this Man-at-Arms, and the Treasure Hunter will double move over here, ready to go after that central token. Then their Demon Hunter will move over here to the base of this ladder. And the Thief over here will climb most of the way up that ladder to right there. And then lastly, Frappuccino gets to activate in this phase. All he can really do is try to cast Heal on himself to make up for that empowerment he just spent on Time Walk. Casting on an 8. Failed by 6. He takes another point of damage. Well, that whole Time Walk plan was kind of a bust, but we'll go over here to Zygomor's soldier phase. He'll have this Templar and this Infantryman both double move over here. The Infantryman can get to there while the slow Templar can only get to there. Then this Ranger is going to run about halfway up this ladder. Well, not quite halfway. Then over here, this Thug, this Thief, and this Barbarian are going to head over this way, getting ready to take a swim. The nice thing about Lego figures is I can actually make them look like they're in the water. And this Thug decided that water looks too cold. He's actually going to come over here to start heading towards this treasure token. Then to their last 2 soldiers, this Man-at-Arms will run over here on a double move, and this Thief will follow him. He can get a little further. Since those 2 wild dogs were taken out, there are no uncontrolled monsters on the battlefield, so we'll roll initiative for the next round. And we have Zygomor going first. Zygomor will activate over here with this Orc Thug and with this Skeleton Zombie. The Thug will run over here and pick up this treasure token. See if a monster spawns. We've got 10 plus, so yes. It will show up on vent number 18, which is again over in Frappuccino's area. This will be across and this will be down. We've got level 18 and 15 down. So that is a minor demon. So this guy pops up and he'll be right over here in contact with these 2 soldiers. And then this zombie that activated will pick up that treasure token. On a 10 plus, another monster. Yes. It's going to show up on vent number 15, which is this one right here in front of me. And to see what it is, this will be across and this will be down. We've got a level 1. Number 12 is an ice spider. Well, that makes sense that the ice spider wants nothing to do with all the steam coming out of there and is trying to get to someplace cooler. And one thing I'll point out here is that normally anything that touches these vents, unless they're undead or a construct, suffers damage. Since I'm house ruling that the monsters are popping out of those, they will not suffer damage from the vents. Then this zombie skeleton will move its whopping 2 inches to right there with his treasure. And then Zygomor is going to run over here next to this thug. And he is going to attempt to cast Imp up on that catwalk. Casting on an 11. Alright, you got that? So this Imp shows up right over here by this treasure token. To Frappuccino's turn, he is going to attempt to cast Explosive Rune right over here to block any monsters from coming through. Casting on a 10. He got that. So that rune shows up right there. And then he is going to move over here. So he can kind of see through there and get ready to add some support to some of his other team members. Ethmod over here is going to attempt to cast Fleet Feet on the Barbarian. On an 11 with a -2, that is a 4. He failed by 7. He will take 1 point of damage. And after that failure, he'll run over here next to his brother. Rider over here will activate with the Crowmaster, and the Crowmaster will start out by just running off the board with this treasure token. And then Rider is actually just going to move over here a little bit so that he can see down here to this infantryman, and then he's going to be bold and try to cast Mind Control on him. So he casts this on a whopping 18 with a -2. Let's see what he does. That's a 6, and actually he casts on the 16. He's going to go ahead and empower that for 10. So that cast on a 16, the man-at-arms will try to resist. He's got a +0. And he resists it right off the bat. Well, that would have been huge if he'd controlled him and had him attack that Templar or the Ranger. But instead, he's just left himself down to 5 health, so he needs to get healed or else he might end up falling to fatigue. For the soldier phase, this swimming thief is going to swim over here and he can come into contact with that treasure token. This is the first time I've had to do a swimming roll. It's a will roll against target number 5. Thief has 0 will, so he got that. So that will put him right there, and now a +3 elemental magic attack is going to hit him. Try to hit him. +1 against +3. He got an 18, but that is a 20. That gives him 10 points of damage. That gives them some experience for being the ones to get hit by that. And the Barbarian on a double move can get right up onto the island. For the Barbarian to swim over there, he needs target number 5. He's got a +3 to his will, and he definitely got that. I'll put him right there. Then the Ranger over here on this ladder will fire an arrow at that Barbarian down there. +2 shot against +4 defense. And the Barbarian blocks that. Then the Ranger will climb the ladder. And on 7 inches, he can get all the way up here, giving him a view of most of the battlefield. Then down here, this Templar is going to do a double move over to here. And this infantryman is going to run over here and then climb into the water, and he can get 2 inches over into the water. And that puts him right there. And then for their last 2 soldiers over here, this thief and this man-at-arms, they'll both double move. The man-at-arms can get to right there on 9 inches. And the thief can get to right there. For Frappuccino's soldier phase, this Blood Crow will see if it can activate. Will of +3 against target number 8. It got it again. It could try to tie up this Barbarian, but instead it's going to fly over and try to tie up this Infantryman to keep him stuck in the water. Then we'll jump over here to this battle with this Minor Demon, where both these soldiers are in combat. The Infantryman will attack with support. That's a +5 against +3. That's a 19 to 19, so both figures deal damage. Since the Infantryman started with -2 health, he's only got 8 health, so that deals exactly 8 damage to him, so he goes down. But then he ends up with his 2-handed sword, deals +2 damage, dealing 10 damage to the Minor Demon, which will wound him. Then the man-at-arms will attack. +3 without support and +1 because he's wounded. That's an 18 against 11 armor is 7 damage. It had 2 health left and it goes down. The man-at-arms will then run over here, getting ready to intercept these enemies coming around. Then this Demon Hunter is going to do what he'll run up here to engage this imp, and then he will attack this demon. He's a +2 against +1. So the imp got a 12 against 11 armor. That is 1 damage on the Demon Hunter. The Demon Hunter would have done an additional point of damage, so 3 extra points of damage if he'd hit against demons. Then this thief will run over right behind this imp, and with support, we'll knock it off the platform. He'll attack it. That's a +3 with support against +1. And the imp wins with 11. That's 1 damage on the thief. To finish up the soldier phase, this treasure hunter will swim across here, and she can get right over to the edge here on her double move. The barbarian over here will start swimming. He can get to right there on his double move, and then this man-at-arms is going to run down here on a double move. Right there. For the creature phase, let's start with this imp over here since it has more health than that spider that's on the board. And both the thief and the treasure hunter have 9 health, so we'll roll randomly to see which one he'll attack. He'll attack whichever is higher, the demon hunter or the thief. He will attack the thief. It's a +1 against +3 with support. And the thief wins with a 9. That doesn't deal any damage. He'll just stay in combat. And then this spider rolled to randomly move this way 6 inches, but it'll hit that building. And then it can see that Templar, so it'll move back 3 inches towards him, which will put it right there. We'll roll initiative for the next round, and Zygomor is going first. And just to clean things up here a little bit, since this thief rolled off into the water, we'll leave just the thief's hat floating there. Then we'll go over here to Zygomor's turn. He will activate with this thug, and Zygomor is going to cast Steal Health on that thief that's up there. He casts on a 10. All right, he got that, so he gains 3 health, and the thief loses 3 health. I suppose the thief gets a resistance roll against that, so that's bumped up to a casting number of 14. Thief has +0 will. He got a 17, so he resisted that. Then Zygomor will run around here, right over to this corner. And this treasure-carrying thug will run right down over here. And over here to Frappuccino, he is going to attempt once again to cast Heal, but this time on Rider, so that Rider can be above that 5 health point threshold. Casting on an 8. He got a 9, so that is successful. With Rider up to 10 health, Frappuccino will run right over here on his single move, staying behind the wall so that the enemy ranger can't get him. And then over here to Ethmod, he can draw a line of sight over here to this two-headed Templar through those cracks in the wall, so he will attempt to cast Fleet Feet on the Templar. Casting on an 11 with a -2, he'll empower that for 1 to make that successful. Then to Rider's turn, taking a look at line of sight, he can see this ranger up here on this tower, and he is going to cast Push on him. He casts on 8 with a -2, which is successful. So this will be a +10 attack against +2 defense, which is a 28. And against 11 armor, that is 17 inches that will push him. In the second edition, the push spell can push the figure vertically if the caster is below them. So looking at the angle of this push, 17 inches is going to get him all the way over here. Well, it would go off the side of the board, but they can't push beyond. So he's going to be floating up in the air over here, and then he'll drop 9 inches down, which will put him right on top of this platform. So he comes through and lands there. A 9-inch drop, no armor is provided there, but that, doing the math, that comes out to 13 points of damage that he takes, and that ranger falls into a pile of broken bones probably. Well, Rider's feeling pretty happy about himself. He's going to run over here next to Frappuccino. He doesn't really need to worry anymore about arrows coming down from the towers. Well, Zygomor's soldier phase was going to start with that ranger firing an arrow at somebody over here, but that's not happening. So instead, this sped up Templar is going to run over here on 7 inches, and it can just get into this water to get into combat with this Blood Crow. And that was just a single move, so now the Templar will attack with support. The Templar has that +1 fight weapon, so normally it's +5. It'd be supported with +2, but it's in deep water, so no, it gets -2, so still a +5 against +0 for the Blood Crow. The Blood Crow's flying, so it doesn't suffer the fight penalty for being in water. But that is a 14 with +2 damage. The Blood Crow has 14 armor, so the +2 damage from the weapon is just enough to take him down. And then this infantryman will activate, and he will attempt to swim to shore here. So the target number is 5. He's got no bonus for his will, but he has a -2 for being in light armor. That's a 15. He swims just fine. With his move halved, he can get right to shore on his single move, then with his second move into combat with this treasure hunter. The Orc Barbarian will then come over to this treasure and pick it up. A monster spawns on a 10+, no monster this time. Over to this zombie, on a 3-inch total double move, it can just barely get to the edge, just past the edge and escape with this treasure. And then over here to this thief with the Horn of Destruction. He's going to blow that horn to collapse the ground underneath this thief. The thief needs to make a will roll, a move roll against target number 22 or fall to the ground. So the thief has a +7 to this roll. That is an 11, so that is definitely a failure. It's only 3 inches, so it has to be more than 3 inches to take damage, but that will put him down here. And I'll just go ahead and remove this bridge. I technically only targeted the area underneath the thief because I didn't want the imp to fall, so I just kind of pushed those guys back toward the edge. And then the thief will run over to engage the thief in combat. And then this man-at-arms, on a single move, can just barely get into combat with the thief as well. And it will attack with support. So that's a +5 against +1 for the thief. But the thief wins with a 16. That deals -1 damage, and that man-at-arms has a magical shield, so that is only 1 damage against him. So the thief will push the man-at-arms out of combat, and then we'll head over to Frappuccino's soldier phase. And this man-at-arms here can come up underneath this building right next to this thief. And now this man-at-arms will attack the thief with support. So this time, this is the +5 against the +1. And that is a 16 against that thief, so that is 6 damage. From there, they'll have this Demon Hunter attack this imp. That's a +2 against +1 for the imp. That's 10 to 11. The imp wins, but doesn't get past the armor. Well, their plan was to take out that imp so that somebody could come up here and take that treasure, but since that imp's still there, this thief will attack that thief. Frappuccino's thief is +3 with support, while the other one is -1 due to being wounded. Still wins with a 16, though. Suppose that's a 17, but -1 damage, so 6 damage on Frappuccino's thief. And since this thief is wounded and can't take any other actions, Zygomor's thief will push him out of combat and leave him right there. Next, here in the middle of the board, this barbarian will attempt to swim to shore to get into combat with that infantryman. This is a target number 5, and the barbarian has a +3 for its will, so he swims to shore no problem. And that uses both his actions. Now the treasure hunter will attack. With support and her dagger of +1 fight, she's a +6 against +3. Well, she wins the combat with 8, but no damage is dealt. She will push herself out of combat and then use her second action to come up here to get into combat with this treasure-carrying barbarian. And then this man-at-arms will start heading out here into the water, and he will move to right there. For the uncontrolled creatures, this imp will attack the demon hunter, +1 against +2. The demon hunter finally hit it. That's a 12. It gets +3 damage because of the demon bonus and the +2 for the weapon. So that is 5 damage on the imp. And this is kind of funny. He'll push it off here. It won't take damage, but it'll land into combat with this man-at-arms. And then this spider right up front here. Can't see anybody because it's so low to the ground. So it'll do a random move right over to here. And still can't see anybody, and end its turn there. We'll roll initiative for the next round. And it goes to Zygomor. So Zygomor over here will activate by himself, and he is going to run right over here and start climbing part of this wall. I'll put him up on blocks to indicate that he's partway up that wall, and then from there he can see this treasure token up here by the Demon Hunter, so he will cast Telekinesis on that. The Demon Hunter isn't carrying it. So this casts on a 14, 20. That will move this treasure token all the way over here to right there. Then for Frappuccino, he's standing over here. From there, you can just see around that to this barbarian, and he is going to attempt to cast Fool's Gold on the barbarian. He casts this on a 12. That's a 9. He'll empower that by 3, which will bring it up to the minimum casting number of 14. The barbarian adds his +3 will to this and gets a 17, so he resists getting his treasure token stolen from him. Then Frappuccino is going to run over here to this corner to right there so that he can potentially still support out here and this mess going on back there. Next for Ethmod, he is going to run down here. And since manipulating treasure seems to be the name of the game, he's going to attempt to cast Telekinesis. This will be difficult. It's a 16 with a 14 with a -2. So that's a 3. He takes 2 points of damage. Now Ryder is going to attempt to cast Fool's Gold on the barbarian. On a 12 with a -2, it's a 15. The barbarian resists with a +3. He only got a 12, so that treasure token is taken from him. And 4 inches. We'll get it right over here by this man-at-arms in the water. Now that those two warriors have recovered after falling over there, Ryder will run over here. And we'll go to Zygomor's soldier phase. They'll start out with what's going on back here. They will have this thief attack. No, he's just going to sit there. They'll have the man-at-arms attack that imp. +3 against +1. That is 13 against 10 armor. That thing only had 1 health left, so it falls in combat. The man-at-arms will then come stand right over here. Then over here to this thug, it will do a double move over here with its treasure token. Then we'll go to the middle, where this two-headed Templar will get back up on shore, and he'll come right up behind the Barbarian and attack with support. The Templar is a total of +8 with his support and his magic sword against the Barbarian's +4. But the Barbarian wins with a 20 over 14. The Templar has 12 armor, but that deals +2 damage. That is 10 damage on that Templar. And because the Templar was down to 8 to start out because of the steam vents, he falls into the water. We'll leave just his shield floating there. And then the Orc Barbarian will attack the Treasure Hunter. The Orc is a +4 against +4 with the Magic Dagger. And the Treasure Hunter wins with a 12. That's -1 damage. That is 1 damage on the Barbarian. She will stay in combat, and then this Infantryman will attack the Barbarian. That's a +3 against +4. That is a 17 with +2 damage against 10 armor. The Infantryman will push the Barbarian out of combat. The Barbarian's not wounded with 5 health, but he is below 6, so he might end up falling due to fatigue. And then this Infantryman will run into combat with this Man-at-Arms right there to try to stop him from stealing that treasure token. And then to this Thief back here, it doesn't want to do anything, but it has to activate, and being below 6 health, it has to roll to see if he falls from being fatigued. He has no will bonus, and he has a -2 to all rolls for being wounded, so he needs a 8 with a -2. That is a total of 7. So he succumbs to fatigue. That might actually be better than him dying because he doesn't have to do a survival roll, and that means there's no chance of him losing his Horn of Destruction. But that does kind of leave these guys outnumbered over here. For Frappuccino's soldiers, they'll start with having the Barbarian activate. We'll see if he succumbs to fatigue. Target number 8 with a +3 will. That's a 9, so he just barely gets that. So the Barbarian will come over here and engage this Infantryman, and then he will attack with support. Since they're fighting in water, that negates the support bonus, so he's a +4. The Infantryman is down to +1 for fighting in water. And that is still a critical hit. And that Infantryman goes down. And we'll just leave his red cape floating there. Then this Man-at-Arms will pick up this treasure, and then he can run a total of 3 inches to get out of the water. So he's ready to get that central treasure token off the board. Then we'll go up here to the Demon Hunter, who will fire a crossbow bolt at Zygomor. Zygomor has never increased his fight stats, so he's a +2 against +2 shoot. Zygomor got an 11, +2 for 13, and the Demon Hunter gets a 17 after rolling on the floor initially. So normally that'd cause 9 damage, but Zygomor luckily has that robe of arrow turning, which gives him +4 armor against crossbow bolts and arrows, so that only deals 5 points of damage. That does put him down to 7 health though. The Demon Hunter will then climb down here, just climb down this wall, but he can't quite get to that Man-at-Arms on that single move. This Thief will activate. He only has 3 health left, so he'll make a fatigue roll. Needs an 8 with a -2, and he goes down. Bunch of fatigued thieves over here. And then this Man-at-Arms, who's hiding out over here, he's going to run over and engage this Man-at-Arms. So he just kind of barreled his way over this terrain to get into combat with him, and he will attack. It's a +3 against +3. And Zygomor's Man-at-Arms wins with a 17 against 12 armor. That's 5 damage. And then the Man-at-Arms will push this Man-at-Arms out of combat, which will send him right over here. For this Treasure Hunter, it will decide not to do anything this round and just keep that Barbarian tangled up, which brings us to the creature phase. This Spider rolled to randomly move this way, And from there, it can see these guys fighting, and it will come over to the edge here. But in the rules for swimming, it says that uncontrolled creatures will never enter deep water unless they have a trait that allows them to swim or fly over it. I'll roll initiative for the next round, and it goes to Frappuccino. Frappuccino would like to cast Telekinesis again to try to move that treasure token closer, but there's so much terrain and hard spots to get vantage points to that he can't really see it to get a straight line on it. So instead, he's going to cast Mind Control on that Man-at-Arms. He casts on a 16. That is a 10. He will empower that for 6. The Man-at-Arms has a will of +1. And it only gets a 9, so he is controlled. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and call the game. Zygomor over here doesn't really stand any chance of getting this treasure token now with 2 Men-at-Arms and 2 spellcasters coming at him. So he's just going to start retreating. Ethmod would also. They would get that treasure token off the board. Over here, this Man-at-Arms would eventually get that treasure token, and somebody would secure that treasure token. Oh yeah, there's a Demon Hunter down there as well. And the only thing that might happen is one of these 2 soldiers here might fall in combat, but both teams have agreed to retreat, and so we will just call the game right here. That battle went pretty well for Frappuccino and his team. Their Crowmaster pulled off that treasure. The Man-at-Arms was carrying that one, and this is the one that was kind of left over that they would have been able to get in a few turns. And most of their soldiers walked off the table. They lost their Blood Crow and an infantryman, and then this thief succumbed to fatigue, so he doesn't have to roll a survival roll. He will come back no matter what, but let's find out the fate of their Blood Crow. It is coming back, and their infantryman, he is definitely coming back. He's ready for some more. For after-game spells, the Sigilists are once again going to attempt to write some scrolls. Frappuccino on a 12 with a +1. Failure, and Ryder on a 12 with a -1, and he actually got that. That's a 16, and he is going to write a scroll of Time Walk and give that to Frappuccino. For experience points, Frappuccino gets 40 participation points. They only had 1 failed spell that caused damage for 5. They successfully cast 9 spells for 90, and quite the variety of spells there. They defeated 2 wild dogs and a minor demon for 15 experience points. For special experience points, they had a figure, at least one figure, get onto that island, so that gave them 5. They recovered 3 treasure tokens for 120. So altogether, that is 275 plus the 5 they already had, and they'll spend 200 of that to increase their health and the heal spell, and they have 80 experience points banked. For their treasure token, starting with their central treasure token, they got a 4. 4 is 20 gold crowns and 3 potions. They could re-roll that if they wanted, but that can potentially get them a lot of gold, so they'll keep that. For their other 2 treasure tokens, an 8 and a 10. 8 is a magic weapon or armor, and a 10 is 40 gold crowns and a magic weapon or armor. Their central token got them 3 potions, so we've got 14, 16, and 20. That is a filter of fairy dust, a potion of fire breath, and a roll on the greater potion table. Their greater potion is an 18, so they almost got an elixir of life, but they got a bottle of Knoll. For their 2 magical weapons or armor, a 9 and a 12. 9 is a crossbow of +1 damage, and a 12 is a dagger of +1 damage. And I'd almost forgotten that their base is in a treasury, so they get to roll to see if they find anything, and a 6 is just simply 6 gold crowns. Frappuccino has put his filter of fairy dust into his vault, and that will come in handy if he knows he'll be facing some enemies that are immune to normal weapons. He's also put his potion of Knoll into his vault, and he'll save that until he faces off against Velius, because that will cancel all spells on the board, including control of summoned shadow warriors. They gave their new crossbow of +1 damage to their demon hunter back there, and they sold their dagger of +1 damage. They also sold their potion of fire breath, and altogether that got them 350 gold crowns combined with what they already had and what they found. With that, they spent 65 to upgrade their thief to an apothecary for some added healing, and that leaves them with 289 gold crowns in their vault as they get ready for whatever battle they face next. Zygomor seemed like he was on track early on there to do quite well in this battle, but I think he might have spread his figures a little too thin, and as a result, 5 of their figures went down. So we'll do some survival rolls. This thief here fell from fatigue, so he doesn't have to roll a survival roll, but for their thief, he's fine. Their infantryman, he is fine. Their ranger, he is badly wounded. This guy gets wounded a lot. And for their two-headed Templar there with the fight +1 weapon, he is fine. For experience points, Zygomor gets 40 participation points, 15 for 3 failed spells that cause damage, 50 for 5 successfully cast spells, 5 bonus experience for getting a figure onto that island, and then 20 more experience points because one of his figures took damage and then actually fell in combat to that elemental blast from the middle. 80 for 2 treasure tokens secured for 200 total experience plus the 80 they already had for 290. They'll spend 200 to improve the imp spell, increase their health, and giving them 90 experience points left over. With their treasure tokens, since they cast Reveal Secret, one of these they get to roll twice for and choose which one they want to keep. So we'll do that. A 6 or a 4. So either of those would give them 20 gold crowns. This one only gives them 1 scroll, while this one gives 3 potions, so they'll take that. And their other treasure token gives them a 16. A 16 is 40 gold crowns and a grimoire. For their 3 potions, a 3, a 6, and an 18. It's a potion of toughness, an explosive cocktail, and an elixir of the chameleon. For their grimoire, this will be a cross and this will be down. 5 and 16. That is a grimoire of Furious Quill, which is a Sigilist spell, which is one of their neutral schools. Zygomor is actually going to have quite a bit of gold crowns to spend because of those potions of preservation that they brewed at the start of the battle. And so this is actually the first time, now that I'm 8 battles in, that one of my warbands is going to head to the black market. I'm using the optional rule here. So we'll roll to see what is available. We make 4 rolls. We've got a 7, a 15, a 17, and a 5. The 5 means there's 2 potions available, which are a 12 and a 15. It's a potion of Iron Mind and a construct oil. The 7 is 2 scrolls, so this will be a cross and this will be down. 11 and 2. That is a scroll of Animal Companion. And the other scroll is 3 and 7, which is a scroll of Teleport. The last 2 results are both grimoires, so for this one, again, a cross and down. We've got 16 and 2. That is a grimoire of Familiar. And their other one, 15 and 11. And that is a grimoire of Steel Health. They already have one of those, so there's no point in buying one of those. Zygomor will sell the potion of toughness and the elixir of chameleon that they found, as well as the 2 potions of preservation that they brewed at the start. And all of that, plus the gold they found and the money they already had in their vault, gave them 760 gold crowns. They'll spend 500 of it to buy that grimoire of Familiar that their black market contract found them. They will use 115 to, once again, basically fire and rehire their ranger. They'll heal him, and then they'll spend 70, discounted with the pigeons, to upgrade their thief to an assassin, and that's a special soldier type found in the Forgotten Packs supplement. Basically, this soldier will not provide support bonuses to other figures, but if supported, they gain a +4 instead of +2, and any damage they deal will cause the target to become poisoned. Then I moved the Horn of Destruction over here to this thief, and the warband has 75 gold crowns in their vault. I liked the setup for this battle. I'd never before used deep water or swimming in any of my games of Frostgrave, so it was kind of neat that a scenario forced me to do that. I will say that if you have access to spells like Leap or Transpose, Those will work really well for getting to and off of that island. And the Fool's Gold spell would also work quite well, as it did for Frappuccino, to just take the treasure away from the opponent that's out there. And with the Sigilists successfully casting the right scroll spell after the game, Frappuccino and Ryder combined to cast all 8 of their spells, which is pretty cool. I don't know if I've ever done that before. And when they cast the Time Walk spell, which I'd also never cast before, I didn't make the best use of it, but it was still kind of neat to see that spell in action. Despite Zygomor adding some offense to his warband before the battle, his team was only able to take down a Blood Crow. Frappuccino's other soldiers fell to either fatigue or an uncontrolled monster. Well, Zygomor lost 3 of his soldiers, and I must say that ranger getting pushed off the tower was pretty epic. The Necromancers brewed those 2 potions before the battle, which netted them a bunch of gold crowns afterwards, and combined with the other money that they found, they were able to visit the black market, which is the first time any of my warbands have made it there so far this campaign, and they purchased a new grimoire, and an assassin, which I'm excited to try out. Next up will be the Swirling Mist scenario, which will feature some white gorillas. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I usually use Lego monkeys to represent these, but I got some new figures, so you'll have to watch that video to see what those look like. If you notice any rules I got wrong or have any questions about my gameplay, let me know in the comments below, as my goal with these videos is to create an accurate representation of how to play Frostgrave 2nd Edition. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to click like, add a comment, or subscribe so you can keep up with all the content that I'm releasing. And with that, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and I'll see you on the next video.